Good morning, welcome back to my channel. We're at Shorncliffe Jetty this morning, but an hour after sunrise. Why? One, I slept through my alarm. And two, there was so much cloud in the sky that there wasn't really even a sunrise. Shorncliffe Jetty is a very popular place for photographers, especially at sunrise. Sometimes at sunset when we get the reverse sunsets, but it's a very photogenic place. But most of the photos are taken on the left-hand side of the jetty. Why? Because we have separation, like there's nothing behind the jetty on the right-hand side. So a lot of people like shooting from the left-hand side of the jetty. But should you be that person? Now I tell people that you've got to think outside the box. Try something new, try different compositions. Sometimes, yes, you've got to go with the flow because that's the only way you're getting a photo. But other times, like, go against the flow. This morning I'm on the right-hand side of the jetty. I've missed sunrise, and if I was on the left-hand side, the sun's just peeking through the clouds now, you can see that. I would just get very harsh backlight. I would have to bracket my image. I don't want to bracket the images this morning. I just want to take a single shot. So I've been walking around, would you believe, for 15 minutes, looking for a different composition. And I finally settled on where I am now. Now you can see on my phone, this is how far the jetty is from me. But look on my camera now. This is the view that I want. I tell people, even though we shoot in 6x4 format, do we have to stay in that format all the time? We don't. We can shoot 6x4, 8x10. I love shooting panoramas or in panoramic format. And this is exactly what we're going to do this morning. There's so much foreground, there's so much sky. I just want the detail of the jetty. I want the jetty to come in from the left-hand side just before halfway stop there. And then we just have the sky and we have one old pylon on the right-hand side. Now it's a very moody sky this morning. There's just few clouds on the horizon. I don't want to smooth the image down, not at the start anyway. I've just got a polarizer just to sort of take some of the reflections off the water, and that's all I've got. So this morning I'm using my Nikon D500 and the Nikon 18-140 at around 80-90 mil. Now this has got vibration reduction on, so you've got to make sure that VR is switched off when you're on a tripod. If it's not switched off, you're going to have problems. And I can see now the sky's looking really nice. The only thing I could probably do is put a 3-stop medium grad just to sort of balance the sky out with the foreground. But just let's see how we go. We're set up, I'm shooting at ISO 100, f11. Now remember, the photos you see at the start here are JPEGs, and my white balance is set to sunny. Now, I always talk about the exposure triangle. Why is it so important? Well, there's 3 things for your exposure triangle: ISO, your aperture, and your shutter speed. When we're doing sports or wildlife, it's aperture and shutter speed that counts, and we balance out the ISO. Today here, I've got my ISO and my aperture. They're the important ones. ISO 100, f11, I want quite a bit of depth of field. Then I balance out my exposure with my shutter speed. So I keep rotating the shutter speed until I get what I want. 1/30th of a second. That looks great. I'm just going to put a 2-second timer delay on it, focus on the jetty, take a photo. Now I'm looking at my histogram here. 90% of the histogram, the peaking, is all on the right-hand side of the center mark. And that looks really good. Now I took a photo, but I didn't feel I was close enough. So I've zoomed in a little bit more. I like this composition more. We'll take a photo and I'll show you why. Now I like that better. Go back. So let's take a look at the 2 photos. This is the first photo I took at 85 mil. This is the second photo at 115 mils. Why did I want to zoom in more? Well, I wanted more definition in that rotunda. Plus, can you see those little clouds on the horizon? I really want them to pop. The further I am out from them, the less definition they've got. And this is something that I tell people. Look at your scene carefully, not just your subject. Our subject is that rotunda there. But look at the background. Does it match? Does it feel right for you? It didn't feel right at 85 mil. So I just zoomed in a little bit. And I like this quite nicely because, especially in panoramic format, I'm going to lose a bit of the top of the sky, lose a bit of the bottom. Even if I don't make a panorama image from this, this looks really nice. I just love those little clouds. They're just like little mushroom clouds on the horizon. Now this is a time sometimes I'm not a big fan of black and white and all that, but on a moody day like this, this is a time when you could practice shooting in black and white. Now it's very easy just to see what an image would look like, because if I go to the menu here and I go picture controls, I come up here, monochrome, click OK, and we just take one photo. Look at that. This is monochrome. Now there's people walking on the jetty and all that, but look at the difference between monochrome and color. There's hardly any difference, is there? This is why I tell people, like, you've got to think outside the square sometimes. Like I said, I'm not a big fan of monochrome, but sometimes it works. And for this image here, it looks really nice. And I will edit one of the photos from this morning's shoot in black and white, just to show you what it looks like. Now understand, I just chose the monochrome picture profile. Now remember, I'm shooting JPEG and RAW, so the JPEG image will be in monochrome, black and white. But my RAW file will still be in color because the picture profiles do not affect the RAW file. So this gives you a very quick idea of saying, okay, well, what would a monochrome look like? Take a photo in monochrome. Yep, okay. Just gives you a feel of what your final image could look like. Look at this, like only 5 minutes. This was the first image. Look at that. See all the little clouds? They're just on the horizon there. This is our monochrome image, and you can see the clouds are starting to fade away. And look at that. There's just nothing there. But I can see on the horizon here, we've just got the little clouds. It's just like them little marching ants. They're just coming along. Sometimes you've got to be patient saying, okay, well, I'm looking at the clouds. They're coming. Why keep taking photos? We just wait a couple of minutes and they'll be there. Now, I don't want to take too many images this morning. I really like this. This is why I came here this morning, just to get this sort of view. So once I've got the clouds back in frame here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put just a 6-stop, maybe even a 10-stop ND filter, and just flatten everything out to give you an idea of what it looks like with an ND filter for a long exposure in the morning. So I apologise, but my microphone shut down without me noticing it at the start. I wasn't able to show you how I set up using a ND filter. Now I waited a couple of minutes and I noticed that the clouds had stopped moving along, so I decided, instead of taking photos, to put my K&F 10-stop ND filter on. Now, to work out the shutter speed, the exposure time, when you're using a 6, a 10 or 15-stop filter, you need to use an app. This is the easiest way, and the app that I use is called the Liebig Stopper app. So I clicked on the Liebig Stopper app here, and you can see we have a 6-stop, a 10-stop and a 15-stop. Now, my photo that I took just before putting on the 10-stop filter told me that my shutter speed was 1/30th of a second without the 10-stop filter. So I clicked on the 10-stop here and I rotated the dial to 1/30th of a second, and it gave me a 30-second exposure. So I dialed in 30 seconds on my shutter speed. Wow, that looks so nice. Now you can see in the photo here, it's very blue. Now this is the problem with the K&F concept filter. I had a Hadia 10-stop filter and it was great. I accidentally dropped it. Being a glass filter, it shattered. Really, if you're looking for 10 and 15 stop filters, you either go to Hadia or to Nissi. They're the two top brands. Even though this filter has a blue cast, if I was shooting in JPEG, which I don't recommend people shoot JPEGs for long exposures, but if I was just shooting in JPEG, I'd really have to make sure that I set my white balance correctly. But because I'm shooting in RAW as well, that is easily taken care of in post-processing. But this is in sunny, so watch what happens now. All I'll do is I'll adjust my white balance to cloudy, and we'll take another photo, and you'll see how you can use your white balance if you're just shooting in JPEG to control this color cast in this filter. Now 10 stop and 15 stop filters, they're great to use when you want to blur the motion. Also, if you've got people walking along a jetty like here this morning, they'll just blur out. But if they're just standing still, they'll be there in the photo. They'll be a bit blurred, but they'll be there in the photo. So this is the image in cloud. It's much more realistic. There's a lot less blue. This was in sunny, in daylight. For me, I know that it's going to give me that very blue color cast, but it's not a big hassle for me because, like I said, when I go into Adobe Lightroom, I can easily get rid of that color cast. The color casts that are very hard to get rid of are the purple, magenta color casts. They're the ones that are very hard to get rid of, but blues, very easy to get rid of. Now before I go, I just want to take one last photo, but this one, I want it much wider. I've got zoom out a bit just so I can take a really long pano. And the easiest way for me to actually work out my composition is I just put it into movie mode. This gives me 9:16, which is my pano. It's very easy to frame my image that way. I can see exactly what I'm going to get. Beautiful. This looks so good. Now I can switch back over into camera mode, just adjust my settings again. Let's see, 1/30th of a second, just like we were before. Take a photo. Now what did I forget to do? I forgot to refocus. So we'll just touch the rotunda there, touch screen. Beautiful. That looks really nice. Quickly whack the 10-stop filter back on, so we'll have 2 images. Now there wasn't any reason for me to reuse the app and all that because my settings are exactly the same. 1/30th of a second will give me 30 seconds long exposure. Beautiful. I really like that. And that's it. That's all the photos I need today. So here are the best images I took this morning. The first image is a JPEG image straight out of the camera. And the second image is the RAW file edited in Adobe Lightroom. So if you found value in this video, give me a big thumbs up. I'd appreciate if you'd subscribe to my YouTube channel if you haven't subscribed yet. It really helps me out. Stay safe, enjoy your photography, and I'll see you next time.